Well, hi folks, welcome to Matrix Uploaded again, the most amazing educational show on television. And we're looking at mathematics, specifically at functions. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the grade 10 parabolas. Okay, now in grade 9 you looked at the straight line. We'll come back to that later on, but as the series goes on. But what we're going to be doing is looking at the quadratic function or parabolas. But just to revise a little bit, I want to take a little graph quickly here. If you look at this, if we take the graph y equals x squared. Now I want you to watch this, grade 10s right through to matrix, and we want to draw the graph of this thing. Now what we could do is use a little table. Now if I go x and y, okay, I can select some values for x. Let's say we choose -1, 0, and 1. Now the idea is to square that -1. So if x is -1, what is -1 squared? Well, clearly 1, so that is 1. What is 0 squared? Is 0. Watch that, 0 squared is 0, and 1 squared is 1. And of course, you could have chosen those values in any way that you wanted. I would avoid fractions, of course. Now watch this. If you've got this, what we've got is we've got this little table method here. And what we can do is we can group this as a set of points. So in other words, you've got x is -1 and the corresponding y is 1. X is 0 and y is 0. X is 1 and y is 1. Now when you draw this, what happens is you get a little set of axes from grade 9 days, and what you do is you then plot the points. So if we go along the x and the y axis, remember this is -1, 1, 1, and -1, and 0's there. Well, what is -1 and 1? Well, start at 0. We go to -1 and up there. So that, if you remember from grade 9, is -1, 1. 0, 0, well, that's at the origin. That's easy. That's 0, 0. And then what about 1, 1? So x is 1, y is 1. And then if you keep drawing points, we get a little graph that's called a parabola. Okay, you just need to draw 3 points, and they're called coordinates, and there you go, and you've got your graph. So that's a little bit of revision of that kind of graph. Remember in grade 9 you did the straight line graph. Now let's pursue this a little bit further. Okay, if we have a look at this, let's suppose we want to sketch the graph of fx is x squared and gx is equal to x squared plus 1. Remember, fx is the same as y. The f of x is the same as y. That's a classical thing that you do in grade 10. And we're also going to look at the graph of hx and px. So let's start with y equals x squared, and let's see what is x squared plus 1 going to look like. Okay, now you already know if we take these graphs, if we look at some x values, if we select them, -1, 0, and 1, and we square them, we substitute into there like we did previously, x squared gives you 1, 0, and 1. We square those x values. Now what happens when you go x squared plus 1? Well, that's very easy. All we're doing is we're taking these x squared values and we add 1 to all of them. So x squared plus 1, add 1 gives you 2, add 1, and add 1, and you get that. Now all we've got to do is take those x's with those guys there, and we create points like we did, and then we're going to shift the graph up by 1 unit by adding 2. Now let's see how this works. Well, if we take this graph, this is the basic graph that we sketched when we started. -1, 1, 0, 0, and 1, 1. Okay, now watch this, people. When you add 1 to the y values, look at this. The graph of g, if you take, that's the point -1, 2. If you backtrack a little bit, let's just have a look at that. Have a look here. It's -1, 2 for x squared plus 1, -1, 2. Let's actually write that down. So if you look at these points here, what have we got? So for this graph here, we've got -1 and 2, so it's that one with that, 0 with 1, and 1 with 2. Okay, now if we plot those points, -1, 2, 0, 1, and 1, 2, what do we get? Well, check this out. Okay, there's your basic graph. I call it the basic graph, or the mother graph if you like. -1, 1, and 0, 0, and 1, 1. That's the one we sketched. Now watch this. If you look at this, there's your -1, 2, your 0, 1, and your 1, 2. Those are the points we had for x squared plus 1. Now look at this. If you take this basic graph and you raise it up, look at that. It shifts up Isn't that amazing? In other words, this graph is going to be, this graph here is y equals x squared, but the moment we shift it up, we get x squared plus 1. Okay, now have a look at this. So that gives you the graph. So it's the x squared graph lifted up 1. Okay, very simple. Now what if we took those two graphs? Select your x values. Okay, now minus x squared, be very careful. It's minus 1 all squared multiplied by the minus is still minus 1. And then 0 squared times the negative is still 0. And minus 1 all squared gives you minus 1. Okay, so this is going to be a very interesting guy. And then if we add 4, what are we doing is we're adding 4 to these guys. So we lift it up and we go minus 1 plus 4. Let's write that down. So we're adding 4, we're adding 4, and we're adding 4. Okay, so what happens now? So this gives you minus 1 plus 4 is 3, 0 plus 4 is 4, and minus 1 plus 4 is 3. If we draw these graphs, look at this. This is your minus 1, 1, 0, 0, and 1 minus 1. That's negative x squared. Let's write him down quickly. Y equals negative x squared. Now lift it up by 4, people, and look what's going to happen. Lift it up by 4, you get those, and the graph shoots up, and you get the graph of this, of y equals negative x squared sad plus 4, and you lift it up. Now don't go away, guys. We're going to pursue this in a lot more detail. Stay with us on Matrix Uploaded.